All right, friends, last one. Let's look at some curl problems here. So I went ahead and wrote it like this. You have the little cheat sheet, the 3x3 matrix that you can take the determinant of to. It's not really the determinant, but you know what we're talking about. This is just the components, right? I just wrote them like this so we can work with them. So our first problem is this vector. And let's do these, let's do a couple, like we did before, let's do a couple with no points and a couple with points. So the first ones we'll do are no points. In other words, we can evaluate the function at a certain point. So let's do x, y squared z to the fourth, 2x squared y plus z, and y cubed z squared. Okay, so there's our vector. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to make kind of an ad hoc table here. This is the p, right? So let's do, because we're looking right at it here, let's do all the p things underneath it. So we need a py and a pz. So just looking right at this, what's the partial of this part, this p part here, with respect to y? Well, I'm going to move that 2 out to x, y, z to the fourth. And then I'm going to come down and do the same thing for the z. So looking at this again, so it looks like it's going to be 4x, y squared, z cubed. See how I did that? I'm going to draw a line here so we're not confusing. I should have shifted over a little bit on my paper. Next, we're going to look at the q's. We need to do a qx and a qz. So qx is going to be, look at this right here, with respect to x, so it looks like it's going to be 4xy. That's just a number, so that's just going to go away. And the last part would be qz. This is just a number, right? That goes away, and then z is 1. Oh, that's easy. And then the r is going to be ry and rx. Oh, I should have done those the other way. Oops. So ry, here's the r. With respect to y, it looks like it's going to be 3y squared z squared. With respect to x, oh, whoa. There's nothing in there. Ooh, that goes to 0, my friends. Ooh, nice. Okay, now we're going to plug all this stuff in here. So here, what's our vector here? So ry, here's the ry. 3y squared z squared minus qz. Qz is right here, minus 1. There's that first one. Next part, pz. 4xy squared z cubed minus rx. Oop, 0. Next one, qx. 4xy minus py. 2xyz to the fourth. And that's it. That's our curl. That's our curl vector for that right there. Let's do another one. And I'm gonna let me copy these down here. So we've got ry minus qz and pz minus rx and qx minus py. So that's just to remind us what we're doing. Let's see, here's our new vector. X squared z, xy squared, y plus 2z. Okay, let's do our same thing we did before. We're just focused on the p's right now. So we've got py and pz. So p with respect to y, oh, another 0. Ooh, look at that. And with respect to z, it would just be x squared. Draw a line. Here's my q's. We're going to do qx and qz. So q with respect to x looks like it'll just be y squared. Q with respect to z, another 0. Ooh, look at all these zeros. Okay. And this last one, don't forget there's a plus in here, so be careful. We've got rx and ry. So r with respect to x, oh my god, another 0. r with respect to y, this isn't anything, so it's just going to be 1. Oh, my word. So here we go. So I've got ry minus qz. I've got pz minus, what did I do here? That's a rx. That's my bad writing. Minus 0. And the last one is qx, y squared, minus py, 0. And that is our vector. Okay, now, so you guys get how to do that. So the only thing that's going to change with points is that we're going to plug in points at this stage, point value, to figure out what is actually going on at a spot. What's the curl at a certain location? So let's look at, oh my word, they did it again. They did the 1, 1, 1. So ridiculous. What's the curl for this? I don't know why they're even doing this. What's the curl here, my friends? Oh, and they even went as far as to give you a point. What's the curl? 0. At that point, 0. At any other point, 0. Hello, it's 0. It's 0 everywhere. I don't know why they're doing that. Okay, let's get a real problem here. So let's look at x, y, z is our first part, y, comma, x. And let's evaluate this at our 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to write it here again. I hope you guys have this on your notes so that you know, I'll do it each time. I mean, it's tedious, but you do not want to not have this. So here we go. We're going to do p, y, and pz. Okay, p right here with respect to y looks like xz. P with respect to z looks like xy. Then we're going to do q's. We're going to do a q of x and a q of z. So here's the q. Now be careful here. Q of x is going to be 0. Q of z is also going to be 0. And then for our r, we have rx and ry. Here's our r. R of x is going to be 1, obviously, and ry is 0. So we plug all this in. So ry, 0, minus qz, 0. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then the middle one is pz minus rx, pz minus rx, comma, qx minus py xz. So you can simplify if you want, or you can just plug in now and then simplify. So this first part is 0, obviously. xy, we're going to plug in xy as 1 and 2. So this is 1 and, 1 times 2 minus 1. And then this is going to be negative, because that's a 0, 1 times 3. So this is, so our answer is 0, right? And then we've got 1 and negative 3. All right, and let's do one more. One more, my friends. Let's do a little trickier, not too bad though. E to the xy, e to the xz, that's negative xy, and e to the yz. And then we'll evaluate those at 3, 2, 0. All right, ry minus qz, pz minus rx, qx minus py. Okay, we'll do our p, y, p, z. So here's p. So p with respect to y, okay. That negative x is our coefficient, so that's got to come down in front, and then the rest stays. Right, so that one's probably the trickiest one of these, but that has to come down. P with respect to z, there's no z there. That's a big 0. And then we got px. Wait a minute. Did I write something wrong here? Did I do this wrong? No. I'm sorry. Q. I'm thinking B again. Sorry, my friends. I'm not paying attention. QX, QZ. Psyching myself out. Sorry. QX. So look at the Q. And with respect to X, that looks like that's going to, in this case, that Z is our coefficient. So that's going to come down in front to the XZ. And with respect to Z, oh, it's going to flip, right? So the X is going to come down, e to the XZ. And then lastly, R with respect to X and with respect to Y. Here's the R with respect to X. There's nothing there. That's a big 0. And with respect to Y, I'm going to get the Z, e to the YZ. Okay, let's plug all this in here. So RY, which is Z e to the YZ minus QZ, which is X e to the XZ. All right, the next one is PZ, 0 minus RX, 0, A. And the last one is QX, which is Z e to the XZ minus PY, which is, negative X e to the negative XY. Ooh, that's a little tricky there. All right, that's 0. We can just plug in now if you want, if you're comfortable doing that. So remember in this whole thing, Z is 0. So notice this is going to be 0 here, right? This is 0. So I don't have to worry about this because this is 0 times whatever, 0. Over here, I'm going to get negative 3 e to the 0 because there's a Z there, remember? So this is just going to be negative 3. Negative 3 e to the 0. 0 minus 0 is 0, so that's done. And over here, again, here's my 0. So that first part's going to be 0. So this thing goes away because that's 0. And then this is minus a negative, which is positive. X is 3e to the negative 6. To the negative 6. And that's your answer.